Hello, and welcome to another episode of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 1, Ike, and with me, as always, is...
Player 2, Eli, and Shaquille O'Neal. Did you know this podcast is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not, Angelina Broly. Are those the same places they could...
Like?
Comment?
Share?
And subscribe?
Yeah, it sure is, buddy.
Holy macaroni and cheese. Well, so I was thinking the other day, there seem to be an awful lot of remakes and reboots going on these days, and perhaps we should have a chat about it. Maybe break it down a little. What you think about that, Broskinkowski?
I do think that there is definitely some things they deserve a little praise, and some things absolutely deserve that beaten bat. Because they ugly.
So before this podcast, because we do so much preparation, we broke it down into 4 categories and then like a little bit of a taste into our brain capsules. So we have remakes for dat paper, alt takes for language reasons, and retools or improvements that were made on the remaking. So what category would you like to start with?
Well, let's start with the most obvious and arguably least nuance of the bunch. Remakes for the money.
Whatever company and or genres would want to remake for the money, though?
Their own source material would want to cash in on that sweet, sweet nostalgia bait. He's got big-ass ears for talking about you, Mickey.
Why, I never.
Yeah, the House of Mouse is especially guilty on this one. Especially recently. I'm not going to say that Disney doesn't
Convicted on a dozen counts.
Yeah, Disney has some old-school bangers. Like, we grew up on The Jungle Book and things of that ilk. Like, classics.
Jungle Book, Aladdin,
Robin
Mulan. Yeah, please do not hurt my boy.
Do not touch my boy. We will throw bombs.
I'm already thinking about throwing hands. You already have one of my favorite directors in Guy Ritchie making not one, but 2 goddamn Aladdins.
Yeah. And if you couldn't tell with our hatred already, we're talking about their quote-unquote live-action remakes. That is a shameless cash grab. All of them. They are. And the problem with doing this sort of thing, where you're doing a one-to-one parrot, is you are immediately stacked up against the original material.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that you can do it better is if you have a lot of respect for the original material and you find some way to improve it, or there was something you thought it was lacking and you could flesh out.
Yeah. Some amount of change, otherwise it's just a picture of a picture with a different filter.
And as the laws of cloning go, duplicates of duplicates just get worse. You see it basically everywhere.
And most of these are, it's kind of interesting now that I think about it, most of these are remakes, and what they did different the first time from the original, like Robin Hood, been made 1,000 times, and then they make the, animated version of it. What they did differently. Well, the character is a lot more fun, a little bit more childlike
It's
the
a
other
very
because they're
different
animals. Tone. Yeah. Different tone. It's got fun music. It's got that whimsy to it. Mulan has great songs. There's a great video that I will look up and put in the description about the Mulan remake and like why it failed.
Yeah, I think Mulan is probably the most egregious offender of these. And shot for shot remakes are very. I'm gonna come out and say it. They're basically bad. They're just not good to do. You don't give anything new. It's not a new work of art. It's not new and interesting. It's just nostalgia bait. That's all it is. You're capitalizing on people's kind of romanticizing of the past. It's fucking greedy. Like, the problem is people do it because it works, right?
Yeah. It works, and the awkward thing about all these remakes, and this is covered in a video by one of my favorite YouTubers called Just Right. It's called Why Mulan Mattered. It'll be included in the show notes. Is because of what they did with remake, and they're trying to make it serious. They're trying to make it gritty, like like the Nolan Batmans, which worked because it's the whole idea of crime fighting in general. It was kind of like. It's a little, like, it wasn't tone deaf. It was just kind of like, what if we took, instead of doing the pow, the bang, the, like, the Adam West hilarity, what if we, like, looked at the ramifications? What if we looked at how hard that hit and how that felt, and kind of, like, that's an alt take on it. And their alt take is, like, trying to do the same thing, but also trying to still appeal to that younger audience, and also capitalize on the original simultaneously. Like, one of the fun things he points out for the Mulan remake is that they literally took the music from the original, didn't have the fun songs, but have the like an orchestral arrangement of those songs in the background to, like, hit that nostalgia bonus. Yeah, it's like Machiavellian level douchebaggery money grab shit.
We also, like, basically give Mulan superpowers.
Oh yeah, no, it's like he puts that in the video too. So she's just superpowers. Also, the relationship between her father doesn't work because they're trying to thread this needle that I argue is probably impossible, of appealing to the Chinese demographic, failed, and appealing to the American demographic of, like, family cohesion and, like, the way that works. And they're just two different paradigms, and they don't work consistently, and you can't have both messages going on at the same time. It's just not how they work. They're two different cultures that are wildly different. And that's fine.
And it's set 500 years ago. Like,
yeah.
Or 1,000 years ago.
Also that, yeah.
Like, women were basically to be seen and not heard. Like, as miserable as that sounds, but fucking old-ass China. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just... And so, that's what made Mulan stand out in many ways, because she didn't. Like, she kind of said, fuck the system.
Yeah.
And her dad
while
wasn't
still being
necessarily
part
about
of
it.
Yeah, but in the new one, it's fuck the system. Oh, but I'm still part of the system. The one of the great dichotomies is the difference in the ending. In the original ending, it's all about overthrowing patriarchy, women being equal. At the end of the original movie, she defeats
Shanwu.
Han. What's his name?
Is it? I guess Shan Yu. There we go.
Shan Yu. That's what I was going to guess, but I felt like I was just going to be making up syllables that sounded right. So she defeats Shan Yu, saves the emperor. At the end, there's all these people around the emperor, like, you should bow, like, what are you doing? And the emperor, like, gives her this great honorific, gives her, like, some memento that she'll be known for forever, like his pendant or some shit.
Yeah.
And then, but he bows to her, and the whole nation does. You've saved this great nation, we owe you a great debt, bows to her. At the end of this one, doesn't give her anything, she bows to him. Which makes sense for China, like, old-timey stuff, but also doesn't work with the message that they're trying to send. And so you've got these two conflicting things, and so you have neither payoff.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode is not about just Mulan. What are some other remakes that are perhaps not from the House of Mouse that are offensive to you?
So this is going to get heated. I have recently been rewatching Last Airbender because it was the feel-good show I got into when I got COVID because I was miserable. And I finished it. And unfortunately, someone decided we needed to make a fucking live-action version of it. M. Night Shyamalan needs to be taken to The Hague for crimes against humanity with this movie. It is such a god-awful, disrespecting slam to the original. They don't even fucking say the names right. Jesus Christ.
What is pronunciation that really? Aren't all
they say Aang a million times in the fucking show. We're gonna call him Ong. Fuck you. Think I'm joking? Look it up. Katara, I don't remember how they butcher her name. They say no one's name right. Like, they say Sokka.
Like he was doing it on purpose.
They say Sokka. Yeah, it's like it's deliberate. Like, it's they're all so wrong that it's like, this has to be by design. And go fuck yourself for it. Like, it looks, it's not cool. The bending seems unimpactful. You don't get these awesome, breathtaking moments. It's shit. It's just shit. It's the most disrespectful fucking interpretation and redesign of something I've ever goddamn seen. Like, it hurts. It is nothing right. Like, it's so perfectly bad. It strips away any kind of emotional importance. It strips away any kind of visual impact. It tries to add this weird, like, dark narrative under like, at one point, like, Aang's having trouble waterbending, and he watches Katara waterbend, and he gets jealous. And it's like narration over the top to explain this to you, too. So it's like
God.
fucking ham-fisting it in there. It's a disaster. It is a strong contender for the worst movie ever made. That's like, yeah, full stop, send it. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know how you butcher such good source material, but we found a way, boys. Oy.
You want me to take this angry mantle from you?
Take the mic away from me before I hurt somebody.
So, my remake for money is Magnificent Seven, and this one takes a really odd, long story trajectory. Magnificent Seven is originally from Akira Kurosawa, The Seven Samurai. Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Highly recommend go checking it out. The man is a master. It gets remade as Magnificent Seven by, I don't remember who, back in like the middle of the 1900s. Good movie. It's got, you got Steve McQueen. You've got, I can't remember the last of the cast. Steve McQueen's basically one of the heads of it. And it's a great film. It's a great American movie. It's a great American adaptation. It's got some mild racist problems, but overall, by and large, decent. And the idea of the movie is still the same, but it's still kind of remake for remake's sake. And there's this kind of fits into like a slightly different category a little bit, and the idea of remaking something for language for a different, audience. Because for a lot of people, especially when it comes to action movies, it's very difficult for them to watch something and experience the visual gravitas and also read like quickly along. Most people don't enjoy that, and it's difficult for them. So I understand that. So that's part of the issue. But then they remade the movie in, what was the last like 5-10 years with Denzel Washington. And it just doesn't, it amps it up. It tries to give backstory where it didn't really need to, and like nobody gives a shit. It tried to add like quirks, doesn't fucking matter. And then like that's when we like add a little bit more explosions, and that's kind of it. It's like, okay, cool. This is like the least offensive of the remake for money. It's like, I guess you try to give a different spin on it, but it feels more or less the same.
Just falls a bit flat on its face.
Yeah, it was like somebody owned the rights to it and like, well, we need to do this so the rights don't go away, and so we can, make a little bit of a coin for the grandkids or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, that was it. It's just like, this one is less egregious than the other ones and more of just a disappointment. Because it was never like this, oh man, that movie. Like, you get annoyed when it went from Akira Kurosawa to the West. And it's like, okay, this is a little bit ridiculous. But, that day has passed. Now it's just kind of like, again? It's kind of like Land Before Time. Each one that they made after the first, you're like,
oh lordy.
Did we?
It's
not bad.
I don't know how many of those you've seen, by the way. They get weird.
Oh, I believe it.
Like magic gets involved, basically. I'm not even joking. Like, it gets fucking weird, man.
Well, speaking of getting weird and magical, I believe we have one last remake for money category before we move on. You want to get in there? Senpai?
We just like Disney likes to cash in hard. They aren't the only ones exempt, or the only ones that do it. It's been a troubling thing watching anime try to do it, and that doesn't work well for a number of reasons. There are certain things that do really well drawn. They look really good drawn. And they work because they don't have a lot of realism put to them. Like, anime is deliberately not looking realistic by design.
Nobody's pupils are the size of a dollar bill.
Yeah. No one has fucking eyeballs the size of a fucking hand. Like, it... I ran out of weird bodily proportions there. But, like, one of the ones coming out, and it's coming up, and I've seen images for it, and it makes me just shudder, is Attack on Titan.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear God. It doesn't
Titans look
right.
weird animated. They look freakish.
Yeah, it's fucking nightmare fuel, and it's like, that's not right. It's just...
And not in the way that the original
not in the way it's intended. Like, yeah. I'm not scared they're gonna eat me. I'm just afraid of them existing. Like, oh, Jesus. Stop it. They look like they're in pain. This is an aberration before God. And the problem is that there's so many things that just don't work out well. And oftentimes they feel like soulless cash grabs. There are very few that feel like they have genuine respect towards their source material. Easy example: live action Death Note. Everyone fucking hated it. Cowboy Bebop, get out of here.
There's an interesting distinction here too, right? Because there's some of these. It's interesting. Those latter two that you noted, I agree, are bad. But all of these have different problems to face. The Cowboy Bebop being the least offensive, because that one is set as in a albeit future but realistic setting, and so that one's just bad because they fucked up. The way they decided to do Ed at the end for extra exclamation.
You are black and male. Get that line out of here.
So that one had problems just on like the directing front, but so many of these, it is, I think you're very much hitting the nail on the head, is so much of the stuff you can do in anime that you just can't do in real life for tonal reasons, for visual reasons, like, Attack on Titan, making Titans real. There's so much of them that look so bananas. And
it very much detracts.
It very much detracts. It's like, you're not wrong, but for being in a realistic setting, it's just horrifying. Then you've got stuff like Death Note. One of the biggest tenets of Death Note, from my understanding of talking to people that are bigger fans than me and seeing clips, is that it's a mental game of chess between a detective and effectively,
crazy serial killer. Yeah.
Crazy serial killer with omniscience. Or like omnipotence, I guess. And the mind games that they play are very much, you're hearing voiceover because it's anime, and it just kind of works because of the formatting, whether it's the stuff that came before or just the way they did it, I don't know. But it just kind of works. And they decided not to do that, which I don't think is wrong, but also makes it impossible to show the best parts of that show, of this cat and mouse game between these two guys that are outthinking each other and next leveling each other, and you just don't get any of that.
Yeah,
instead they fill it in with just hellacious American schlocky bullshit.
Yeah, it undercuts so much of that psychological warfare between them. It just doesn't work typically. No, it's bad. Stop. Let it be where it is.
So as opposed to the remake for money category, where we abhor basically everything we put up here, in the alt take category, there's plenty of these that I think are actually quite good. Like, for instance, you were noting right before the show started a particular favorite horror movie of yours.
I did. And I hadn't thought about it as an alt take, but it was 2019, 2020, the movie Invisible Man came out, and apparently it had a god-awful PR campaign. Like, whoever tried to handle advertising with the movie really fucked up hard. But the movie itself is outstanding. It does a really good job playing with the idea of gaslighting somebody. Like, if you could just impact the world around them and nobody could see you, you could gaslight the shit out of someone and convince everyone around them that they're crazy. And that's what you watch happen. And you, as a spectator, you know what's happening, and the character in the movie knows what's happening. It's like a struggle to prove it.
And one of the kind of nice things about this, and what's kind of fun, is these are from properties that are good. It's not like these are properties that are bad.
Yeah.
Like The Invisible Man is, started off in like a, 1930s, 1940s
it's a classic
horror movie. Roar! Yeah, goes around, does stuff. It's really cool. It has bandages, takes them off, and it's invisible. It's there's a lot of cool shots from the original, but it's very much monster for monster's sake. That kind of cartoony style villainy where it's like, I'm bad, hiya, and you're like, oh no, that's fun, old timey but fun. And the new one,
it's much more sinister, but there's a certain amount of frightening reality to it.
Yeah, so a lot of good metaphorical representation of having it be a heroine dealing with her evil ex-husband at the time, I guess, right? The metaphor of gaslighting being represented in a physical sense that is horrifying, both when you think about it metaphorically and also in the reality that she's set in. There's a lot of great duality there.
and just the acting is also really well done. Like the guy is so creepy and so slimy and two-faced, and like, and it doesn't feel at any point like people are acting completely out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point, her best friend kind of has to bail on her. He's like, I can't guarantee my daughter's safety around you right now, so I have to get you out of here. And it's like, he knows it sucks, she knows it sucks, we as an audience know it sucks, but it makes sense. Like it just it does it really, really well. So yeah, that's absolutely a fantastic kind of modern alt take of Invisible Man.
So moving from good modern alt takes to kind of bad ones, we're going to ping pong around in this category a little bit. Is I don't remember what year it was, like mid to late 2000s, I think. As Guess Who, which is a remake of a Sidney Poitier movie of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Okay.
So in the original, we have a very interesting social structure dichotomy of Sydney, girl is coming home to, I believe it's in the South, but coming home to, see her parents and bring along her boyfriend. They're very excited. They don't know anything about him except, some of the, he's very smart. He's going to become a lawyer or whatever. He's at university with her. Very cool guy.
Yeah.
And comes home and it's a black man. And yeah, deal with all the what you don't know, what you do know, interactions, the kind of hubbub, the hullabaloo, and dealing with just families and just the United States at the time, especially then, and still sadly to this day, quite racist, turns out. And dealing with all those issues and showcasing them in believable, relatable, and kind of family intrinsic ways that you can imagine. And so it puts the viewer in the circumstance that they can, even if they've never been in a biracial relationship, can imagine, because you've brought home a boyfriend, or you've been a boyfriend that was brought home, and there was tension. There might not have been, in an ideal world there's very little. In a more realistic world there's probably some to a lot. And now you see it from a different lens because part of that is understood to you because of just experience, and part of that isn't because, likely lots of people at that time just hadn't been in biracial relationships and hadn't dealt with the idea of the other. And so putting that for the viewer to see and understand is just like, whoa, that's so cool. That's so kind of adventurous as filmmaking to kind of put the viewer in that circumstance. However, in the 2000 whatever version, they flipped the script. Ooh, it's Ashton Kutcher coming home to a black family with Bernie Mac as the dad. And it's just mediocre hijinkery.
Oh my god, I've actually seen this. I forgot about this movie. Wow, it's so mediocre.
It's so tepid. And again, it's one of those things you can't help but compare it to the one that came before, because that's how remakes work. It's like the first one.
I didn't know it was a remake. Actually, it was mediocre.
Yep. Instead of this kind of groundbreaking, kind of interesting intrigue into that circumstance, it's just like schlocky. Oh no, he's white. Bah, 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 and just going off. It's like, this isn't yes, but also not at all. I don't know. It's not how that one works, bruh.
It also, this may be a bit out of line for me to say, it feels like they just took every black stereotype and threw it at the family too. It feels very over the top in that regard. It's like,
no, the writing is really hacky. All the jokes are really hacky. They talk about, white guy, isn't his dick small? And it's like, dude, fucking who wrote this? Were you guys bored on a Saturday afternoon with a couple of drinks and you just pen this out, and they acted it while you slept off your hangover? It's just so just kind of ball at the wall. Okay, run with it.
The best part of the movie is just watching Ashton Kutcher freak the fuck out in an elevator because he lost his job. That's the best part of the movie. Because there's 3 minutes where he's just pacing in an elevator, shows the security guards watching, is he gonna go up again? And he just doesn't do the loop of the building. They're like, hey! And they start betting on him. That's the best part of the film right there. It's
that's the other issue, is not only is it just a bad remake, but it's also just kind of a mediocre film. But from mediocre to magnificent, Would you like to talk about Brendan Fraser, my boy?
Our Lord and Savior Brendan Fraser. God bless that man. He's a delightful human being. The Mummy is kind of a fun alt take on the old monster movie again. Because thank you. As much as the movie worked at the time, it was very popular. It's not a movie that's aged well. No fault of its own necessarily.
One note, boomer humor. Nothing wrong with it. Order up some popcorn. Probably do something else while you're watching it.
I mean, it worked at the time. It was popular. Yeah. People liked it. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But, you know...
Hell, if I'm half in the bag, it works now.
Shit, yeah, fuck it. We still go to Godzilla movies. Like, I mean, we're not much better. So, all we do is we add some fucking flashing lights and just, big lizard.
Get distracted by the big lizard.
Yeah, exactly. We're all moths. We go to the flame.
I'm just imagining, like, the production house, like... holding up a big, like, plastic lizard. Look at the big lizard. We're like, and they just, like, grab money out of our wallet while we're doing it. We're like,
all right, thanks. It's been fun. Meeting, he just walks and sits like a fucking plastic T-Rex at the table. He's like, big lizards. Anyway, so kind of a fun modern alt take on the monster movie, and it's filled with kind of over the top stereotype and just bizarre humor, but it's hard to not love Brendan Fraser. The absurdity of shit that he gets into.
90s Brendan Fraser is top tier.
Killing it. To be fair, I still like modern day Brendan Fraser, like in Doom Patrol, where his script is 90% profanity, which is hilarious to listen to.
Yeah, no, he's still great. He's still got it. But one of the nice things I think about this one as an alt take is, like, they flushed it out, right? Because the original is just, like I was saying earlier, one note.
It's got lore. It's got story. It is like, it does a lot more.
It's got great dialogue.
Like it's very campy. I'm not gonna pretend it isn't, but it's like very campy by design. And it's kind of the better for it, personally.
Hey, Brendan, I've got all the horses.
Hey, Betty, you're the wrong side of the river.
That's the best part. Is like the noise he makes, but like he doesn't say fuck. He doesn't say damn it. He just like it's just like we're moving on. But also in this kind of campy fun, the horror gets amped up hard. I remember seeing this as a kid and having nightmares, even though it is PG. I think it's PG-13 kind of.
Bugs under the skin, very, very unsettling.
For me, I mean, we both wear glasses. It's so weird that this hits me. So I'm not going to say spoilers. The movie's like 30 years old, 20. It's old enough. You should have seen it. And whatever, fuck you.
1998 or something.
Yeah, it's plus 20 years old. Also, just
get over yourself.
Well, also just like it's not a movie that has like a significant spoiler. So
99. Okay.
99, yeah. So plus 20 years. The first one of the first guys to die is one of the guys on the other part of the expedition, and he's got glasses. And the way he ends up eating it is he's like running, gets like jostled, the like attempted escape from the is it pyramid, right? Yeah, they're in a pyramid. Yeah. Attempted escape from the pyramid, gets jostled. His glasses fall off, and somebody steps on him, and he can't see anymore. And it's somebody. If you wear glasses and have ever lost them, it is pretty off-putting. And then he's jarring. In this dark place, and you see it through his perspective, and I'm just scared and sorry for him. And he ends up getting kind of messed over twice. It's like, God, dude. Like, everybody else gets to, like, die either heroic or in a moment, but it's done. They're dead. It sucks. It's over. This guy gets, like, his eyeballs and his tongue eaten out, and so he's this husk of a man. And I'm just like, he had to do this sad, scared, and alone in a dark, pyramid. So he stepped on his glasses. And then he's like trying to live up in the fucking, hotel once he somehow escapes, which is still boggling to me. And then he comes back, like the mummy comes back for, course number 2 and gets the rest of him. It's like, and the sound he makes is just so sad. It's like, she fucked me up.
Yeah. Imhotep, you're a jackass.
Imhotep.
I do appreciate, also, the like sand wall and water wall and stuff.
Oh
with his
yeah,
face. They're so cool.
So iconic. Yeah, you could show me that today, goosebumps, and I'm like, let's watch it again. Like, that movie is aged fine.
Run it back, boys. Like,
yeah. It's also doesn't do the shitty trope of having a heroine that has no agency and doesn't make a difference. You know, it doesn't do the was it Indiana Jones 2 problem of having this, you know, tits along for the ride with like nothing else to add to the scenario except being annoying.
The token blonde bimbo. Got it.
Yeah. And so we have Rachel Weisz having those moments she also has this great trajectory where she starts off very snobby and reserved, and over the story by meeting this guy that is not of the literary, because I think she starts off as a librarian, because of course, over the course of the movie, it's not that he like sexes her up and she figures it out like Grease or some, you know, horrifically subtoned rapey movie, but instead in this movie, like, she starts to experience the world. She gets adventurous. She kicks some ass. She does, like, he helps her, but in the end, I think it's effectively her who, you know, saves the day by, like, figuring out, like, they have archaeology play an important part. Like, because she knows how to read the book. Yes, she summons the problem, but she's also the one that puts it back in the box, right?
Yeah.
If memory serves.
I believe so.
That's pretty cool. And it's like, instead of him getting the girl, I think it's more like she gets the guy, because like the guy was basically when they meet Brendan Fraser, he's been in prison forever and like kind of sneaks a kiss from her, which you're like, oh, that's douchey, but also like kind of makes sense. The guy's about to be put to death. He's been in prison for 10 plus years.
Next morning.
Yeah, like I would grab some too. Like I get it, but later in the movie, she comes around to him, and I think it's like she decides that she likes him. It's kind of like.
It doesn't feel like dragged in by his natural animal magnetism.
Yeah, it's not Han Solo-esque where he just keeps hitting on her and eventually she just caves. Yeah. Which, by the way, not to ruin a classic, but don't rewatch Star Wars sober, because you'll see that shit and it's just awful. Moving on. Quick before I ruin a classic.
So, stop this man. What else has he got on this list here? Broham.
The last one I have for this list before we move on is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So the original one, so there's obviously a book by the same name, made by Roald Dahl, classic, great. Then there's the fantastic movie with, help me, what's his name?
Johnny Depp.
No, that's not the classic.
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder being, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. It technically doesn't match up with the book, by the way. Slight spoiler alert. He is very different from the Willy Wonka in the book, but he is always going to be Willy Wonka to me. This is one of those ones that, like, the book and the movie are different. I could give a shit because the movie is just so damn good.
Yeah.
However,
Gene Wilder carried the shit out of that movie.
Gene Wilder's just a beast.
He's an animal.
It's such a funny small thing, but I love hearing it about like the back things. He makes this decision early on in the filming of the movie, and his reason was genius. So the first time you meet Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka, he comes out, it's been closed forever. They've just been making it in secret and shipping out the chocolate. Now he's going to open up and show 5 people around or whatever. When he comes out, he's like faking this limp with like a cane, and then the staff his cane gets stuck in like the little, cobblestone. And then he does this like front flip and everybody cheers and, it is Willy Wonka, and he lets him in. And they're like, why do you want to do this? And he goes, because if I do this here where I'm faking that and everybody believes it, and then I do this like front flip, you won't know if he's lying or telling the truth. And it opens up this whole like chasm of mystery of just like, yeah, but maybe. And it's really genius. And like it's like a subtle thing, but like it's one of those things that's hard to like see if that's actually the truth, or if you realize that's the truth, or if you did or didn't realize it. I don't know. It's wild. But so that one's, gonna be my favorite forever. And that's no slight on the Johnny Depp one. We have Johnny Depp and shitastic. Why can't I remember words right now? Who's the guy that made that one? It's the guy that made Edward Scissorhands, original Batman. Fucking
Nightmare Before Christmas, Burton.
yeah, Tim Burton.
Thank you.
We got there.
We did it.
Woo! So Tim Burton makes this one, and oddly enough, as much shit as he got for this, and I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan. He definitely has, his own kind of thing going on, whatever. But he went back and read the book for all the people that are like, are big fans of proponents, and I think it's a it's a stand that you shouldn't take all the time necessarily, and definitely not like, they didn't follow the book kills the movie. There's sometimes that is a, if they had, it would have been better, sure, but there's sometimes where they don't, and it's great. I mean, case in point, look at the, I think it's like the 1971 with Gene Wilder. They don't follow the book. They sort of do.
I would say they like 85%.
Yeah, maybe. It's not as much as people think. Apparently, I was watching an essay on this. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of it they just like cut out, and they just kind of let Gene Wilder do his thing and have fun.
There's also that weird tunnel. Let's not talk about the weird tunnel.
The scary door.
So weird.
But when Tim Burton made this one, he actually went back, did his research, and he made it not quite shot for shot, but he made it like really close as you probably could to the book. And people, lots of people didn't like it, and it's just kind of it was a really cool and aggressive choice. I'm not the biggest fan of Johnny Depp, and like one of the things is like like filling the shoes of Gene Wilder's motherfucking
That's pretty impossible.
I don't want to put that on anybody, but they really did try, and they really went for the source material. They really went for the look. Tim Burton kind of did his color palette thing.
He does have style, give him that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it personally. I prefer the Gene Wilder one. It's the one I grew up with. There's that kind of first is best kind of feeling in the memory banks.
It's hard to beat a good first impression of something.
Yeah, but this is one of those that I think it's a really good alt take. Going back to the source material, trying it from a different lens. Having him be less funny and being a little bit more like kind of quirky. Yeah. And like these were like really risky takes, and I think that's one of those things that should be kind of appreciated about this, as opposed to like, oh, it's not this, and all the people that are like, oh, the book is always best. It's like, well, watch that movie and see how you feel about that.
Also, you gotta remember, fucking Roald Dahl's books are weird as shit.
Weird as fuck. Don't look at what snozberries are. It'll make you wish you never licked the wall.
I'm fighting to Google right now.
Don't do it. It will change it. You can never unknow what a snozberry is. It will change every time it's ever been mentioned, and you'll be horrified. Now that you did, aren't you glad I told you not to? Okay, so before we move on from alt takes to for language reasons, this is a kind of this is weird middling ground, and it's every Sergio Leone Western. Because Sergio Leone, badass, great soundtrack choices, great settings. All of his spaghetti westerns are basically copies of Kurosawa movies. I think it's like Fistful of Dollars is Yojimbo. I think the only one that isn't, maybe, and I could be even wrong about this one, is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is, kind of its own thing. But most of them are copies of just terrific works by Kurosawa. And this is one of those kind of awkward things, as we were talking earlier about, it's hard to watch action or just watch movies in general while reading. It takes away from the experience. You can like it. For some people, it enhances the experience, but by and large, it does take away from the amount that you're drawn into that visual experience for most people. Some people are out there like, I can do it just fine. Good for you. You're amazing. But that does take away. And so it's not for no reason, like I used to think, and I don't know about you, bro, but for me growing up, I always used to be like, well, why didn't you watch the original? And the more as time goes on, sometimes you're watching a thing on a separate screen while, working out. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do that and, watch something with, subtitles.
Yeah. I'm one of those people who will actually devote time if I'm going to watch something with subtitles. Like, yeah. I have my schlocky, easy to consume garbage that I'll put on at work as a bit of a distraction or to kind of numb my brain as I do data entry. But like, otherwise you just kind of go insane. But no, I do understand that the kind of sentiment. I don't always agree with it or the reasons that people want it, but I do acknowledge that there are valid reasons to want it.
Yeah. But this one is kind of, before we go into that one, this one is kind of a middling ground, so I didn't know where to put this because it is and isn't an alt take, because you are changing the setting drastically. You are changing the interactions, the kind of joie de vivre, you know, turns out, you know, feudal Japan versus contemporary, like 1800s Western, you know, America. It's like, yeah, these are very different.
Turns out.
So, now strictly for language reasons, what you got rocking around the old Kabeja?
What stood out to me was the girl with the dragon tattoo. Because I actually saw the original one in Swedish. And that whole...
in Swedish?
Swedish. The Millennium Trilogy, I think is what the series is called.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's fucking brutal, honestly. Like, it does not pull punches. I think that's very common in foreign films.
It gives them.
Yeah, that's something anecdotally that I notice more in foreign films than in stuff in the United States.
Oh yeah,
they're not afraid to get dirty with it. So I'm like, I respect this.
That's Will Smith's next album. Get dirty with it. No, 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 no. Hey.
Stop.
Get some help.
Yeah, get some help. And it was really good. And I didn't realize that they only came out 2 years before one was made in English. And purportedly is good. I haven't seen the newer one.
It has gotten rave reviews.
I say it's gotten pretty good reviews, and I've been inclined to think it'd be good because the first one, the Swedish ones, they're very dark, both thematically and visually. Like a lot of stuff happens at night, a lot of stuff happens in gloomy rooms, and the person who directed the American versions, it's fucking David Fincher. That is sort of his zone of expertise.
If you're gonna get somebody to do that, there is no substitute.
Yeah, he is kind of masterclass at doing that, not making it too dark that you can't interpret what's happening.
Yeah.
So
he finds that right color of gray.
He finds that sweet spot super well.
That off yellow. He really loves the freaking like burnt manila envelope color. Really, if you look at all of his movies, he digs on it. It's great.
But I think that was a good remake for language reasons, to make it easier to consume for an English speaking audience.
And for my next pick, if for all of you that like are, you know, oh, it's offensive to the artist to remake it for it to be remade. Well, it turns out that some people disagree. Specifically, pause for dramatic effect. Turns out Hans Peter Molland disagrees because he made In Order of Disappearance and Cold Pursuit. It's the same movie, just one of them is in Swedish. Apparently, it's really hard for Americans to understand Swedish because this is 2 on the list that are both from Sweden. But he wrote and directed both of them, and they are the exact same movie, just, you know, one set in Alaska, one set in Sweden, with the closest corollary there is for the United States. And,
probably like Montana would work pretty well.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, like, I don't know. The original one that's set in Sweden is kind of like in this like ice shelf of like a Swedish area. It's not like set in like Stockholm or something nice. It's like the sticks. But, you know, it's the same movie, and he just wanted it for a different audience to appreciate. Like, that's what he said verbatim in an interview. He's like, why are you remaking this? I just want Americans to be able to appreciate the story. This is like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, what a guy.
Yeah.
What a homie.
Yeah. That's about as simple as it is. They're both great, you know, just kind of action family movies. Not family friendly, but, you know, has family in them. But yeah, I highly recommend go checking it out. They're a lot of fun. Me old boy over here, you want to take a crack at the next one?
I've never seen Old Boy.
Excuse me while I go kill my co-host.
I'm sorry.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
A lot, apparently.
All right, so I guess I'm going to finish up this category. They're both kind of like footnotes of a different variety.
Okay.
So the sad one that we have to drop is Old Boy. Old Boy is a terrific Korean movie, just 90 kinds of fucked up. The fact that you haven't seen it is just like, it's
So much I haven't seen.
this one is, if you thought Girl with the Dragon Tattoo like went places, goddamn, Park Chan-wook doesn't give a fuck about American sensibilities. If you find yourself being like, you know what, this movie didn't quite do enough to offend me or make me go, oh my god, you should check out the OG 2003 Old Boy, because that movie will make your jaw drop below the floorboards. However, then the great filmmaker, who I do love plenty of his works, Spike Lee, decided to take a crack at it, and I don't know if it was because interference, I don't know if it was because of whatever. Fuck me. God damn. It just, I guess some movies just can't be made in the US. I think this might have just been one of them. That might have been part of the problem, is like the MPAA and like the people that funded it were like, well, we need to make money. He's like, well, I want to make it this way. They're like, we're not going to make money if we make it this way. And we write your paychecks, son. So yeah, it did not end up going the distances, which the story does kind of require. You know, it's kind of like the difference between, it's like if you see a PG-13 horror movie and then an R horror movie, that's the right order. Yeah. You know, it sets expectation and then goes beyond it. If you watch them in the inverse order, the second movie is probably not going to be as good unless that story just slaps. The problem is that the first one doesn't give a fuck, and the second one had to give too many. So part of that isn't on my boy Spike, but part of it is. And the last one to get us out of this for language reasons is The Departed. Is, I didn't realize this until years later, Martin Scorsese didn't copy it shot for shot. He's not, you know, some hacky ripoff. He just wanted to tell the really cool, I believe it's Japanese crime thriller, Infernal Affairs, and kind of do his take on it, which is really cool to see that, you know, big time directors, even in this day of, you know, kind of the idea of being original, it's like, yeah, sometimes you just really like a story and you want to kind of do it yourself, you know, give it your shot, do your paint by numbers on their, you know, classic. And there are noticeably different changes, the way like the kind of music is done. Scorsese does his thing. It's, you know, it's set back east. It's done with the mob, aka basically every movie he's ever done. Which,
well,
you know,
Scorsese is a theme. No way.
Yeah, there's like 2 movies outside of it. One was a kid's movie, and one was him being a good Catholic boy. The rest of them are set in like New York or Boston and have to do with crime in some capacity, and probably being Irish. The end.
Was it Martin Scorsese who did Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Also,
More
set
crime.
back east has to do with crime. It's just rinse, repeat. I never get tired of it. They're all bangers. Like Martin, I am in no way. This is in no way an indictment on Martin Scorsese. The guy knows what he's about and does it quite well.
He's very about that thing.
Yeah, that's just kind of his jam.
It has worked out well.
Anyway, before we get too long in the tooth, which this episode is very much going to do,
yeah,
we're going to move on to ones that retooled or made. This is going to be the opposite of the remake for money. It was a remake for quality, or you know, kind of spinning the camera in a different direction.
Yeah, like saw the original and went, I think there's problems we can make better. Like we can do it better in one way or another. And I think we'll lead off with the law of Judge Dredd. You're welcome. Because the original Judge Dredd, well, the original.
Are we the law of this category?
Well, the original is a comic book.
Yep.
And when it was made into the first movie with Sylvester Stallone,
Sly.
It had some horrible inconsistencies with its source material.
Let's call them tonal issues.
Yeah, like notably, they really wanted people to know that they had Sylvester Stallone in there. So 15 minutes in, he rips off his helmet. Which, no.
Yeah. If you read the comics, that is a big no.
Yeah, that's like that gets you killed, kind of thing. It's so and just him kind of screaming "I am the law" repeatedly is just it just kind of takes some of the gravitas out of it. Like when
I mean, not only does it take the gravitas, like the whole point of like the judges or like judge, jury, executioner, you're supposed to be you're almost like a shell of your former self. You have no personality. You are supposed to be completely ambivalent's not the right word, but devoid of
completely objective.
There we go. Words, I know them, and he does too. Completely objective. And so this idea of having a strong personality, of having a strong sense of self even, and being very, kind of proud and being very kind of rah, aka being Sylvester Stallone in every movie he's ever been in, kind of doesn't play.
It doesn't line up. But the new one, with whose name I will never remember...
Carl Urban.
Thank you. Jesus. My brain said Karl Marx. I was like, that's not right. Carl Urban.
I am the judge. Now is time for revolution.
Karl Marx was, I believe, was Russian.
He sounded weird. There's no recordings of him, I hope, so that I can't be...
No, but he certainly didn't have that hackneyed German accent.
That's what it sounded like on, what was it? Fucking the thing we did, the Inside Job. Anyway, moving on.
Carl Urban crushes it. It's really good.
Destroys.
And it's also just, it is a feast for the eyes. They use a really good color palette. It's very simple. It plays to its strengths. Good choreography.
Yeah.
Good visual. Like it's just good. It's very good.
It bangs.
Yeah, it very much fucking slaps. We noticed that when we saw ads for it, both it and The Raid, since they were released, I think within a year or two of each other, we went, wow, these are kind of similar. And there is a lot of overlap between those two movies. And we love both those movies.
Turns out you can have the same aesthetic as long as you do them right. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. So, solid retooling. Absolutely made it better.
What's your judgment?
I give the newer Judge Dredd like good 8.5. I really liked it.
It was a banger.
It's not perfect, but it's fucking good.
Yeah, it's fucking. Whoo boy. Speaking of fucking good, Ocean's 11, I think it's the 90s, maybe early 2000s. I think it's like 2001. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. The original is from like the 50s with the Rat Pack.
Huh.
And while fun, actually that might not be the original, but that's the one that was previously done. Sure. And while fun, it is just Dean Martin and friggin' Frank Sinatra just hanging out with the boys and being the Rat Pack by another name. It's not really, doesn't have a story, it's kind of just them on screen. It's kind of like Elvis movies. If you watch them, you're not like convinced Elvis is somebody else.
Yeah.
That being said, Steven Soderbergh's Ocean's 11 with the friggin' wall-to-wall bang cast of George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Jessica Roberts, Matt Damon, Andy Garcia.
I tried as a young Matt Damon in it. Shit.
That was pretty early on in his career too, but it's just, Elliot Gould, like, it's got the star power to blow up the sun. That movie just like, I don't know where they found the funding to get that many juggernauts all in the same boat.
Yeah.
But they did it, and then Steven Soderbergh came in and goes, all right, now watch what I can do, and just made it coalesce so perfectly. There's no fighting for star power. There's also Don Cheadle in the movie. Like, it's like insane.
Don Cheadle's in that movie?
Yeah, with a hokey but dope British accent. I don't think it really cracks.
Oh god, that's Don Cheadle.
Yeah, it's Don Cheadle.
Fucking notice.
Oh, leave it out. Who forgot? I had one job to do. Yeah, it's hokey as shit, but amazing. Who cares? It doesn't matter that it's not accurate. That's not the point of the movie. This is great, crime. It's not crime. It's just like, theft movie. It's caper. Right. And it's just, also Casey Affleck's in the movie. I forgot about that too. Yeah, it's just like, it's just insane. It's just like, holy crap. And it's so perfectly directed. It has this like great story, this, great kind of tailspin at the end. It's
a very, very good build up and payoff.
Yeah. As opposed to just, let's hang out with, Dean Martin and co. It's like, let's watch a film, which nothing wrong if you want to hang out with Dean Martin and co. Just,
I don't want to pay to watch it.
What would you like to pay to watch, though?
I would like to pay to watch the newer Planet of the Apes trilogy. The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I think, was the first one.
You would pay to watch those damn dirty apes?
So the original ones back in, are they like late 80s,
50s.
early 90s?
I think it's like the 50s. It's Charlton Heston when he was not old. 1 second.
Are they fucking that old? Holy shit. Oh, I thought they were much more modern.
1968, I believe is the original.
Fuck me. They are these
Racist.
Yeah, I would say the undertones of racism are barely undertones. They got heavy-handed with the spice there. The new ones, however, they're very interesting and they're very thought-provoking. Maybe not, but there's
a lot going on there.
There's a lot going on, and it's very interesting to see how it evolves. Because especially the first one is mostly just watching the story of Caesar, who is the first ape to gain intelligence, because his quote unquote dad is a scientist played by James Franco, who is trying to make a cure for Alzheimer's. Turns out make apes smart, and what's kind of cool is that in many ways it starts from very realistic beginnings. Because, like, great apes, like chimpanzees and whatnot, are intelligent. They're very smart. They can problem solve, they can use tools, they can fucking learn sign language, for God's sake. Like, and they can evolve sign language, too.
And they can have complex thoughts and feelings. It's not very, it's not like blocky A plus B equals C. There's a lot of just like, I don't feel this way. I don't, there's a lot of kind of nuance to it.
Yeah, like animals
horrifying.
are often smarter than we give them a lot of credit for, and great apes are in that category of very intelligent animals, like them and elephants. For God's sakes, elephants have graveyards and basically hold funerals. They also make art. Really neat. Anyway, but you get to watch it evolve from just, it's a very intelligent monkey, to it has a purpose. And that's one of the things you see come alive, is a sense of purpose. And making kind of your own mark and imprint on where you're supposed to be. So instead of in the first one, it's humans fighting back against apes that have taken over, initially it's apes trying to find a way to exist. And then later, when the problem kind of balloons, like, it's trying to exist peacefully versus taking over.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch that as the community of apes evolve and gets larger, conflict ensues. It's like, wow, it doesn't sound that uncommon for, like, humans and shit. Huh. How about that one? Huh.
We were the villain all along.
Yeah. So,
And by the way, we do realize that we're leaving out the Marky Mark variant from the early 2000s. That doesn't exist to us. I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it like a time capsule? Or did like
it has Marky Mark. I was 50% checked out upon release, and then
fair enough. Okay.
Got extravagantly worse.
Okay.
Turns out the guy that said, "No, we wouldn't kill you," on camera is not the acting juggernaut that I.
Who would have guessed? He's got some fucking holes there.
Yeah.
But things we do want to think about, potentially, things that deserve a second chance, or that we think could use a good coat of polish and a remake of their own. We each kind of came up with a few and settled on something. So Isaac, what's something you would want to see remade?
So I think this is 2010's. There's this movie by Zack Snyder called Sucker Punch. The movie is quintessential Zack Snyder color palette. It's a lot of fun. Story sucks dick.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
The big diesel to the mouth hole. Not ideal. Its action scenes are really fun. Its plot is hot garbage. Its color is fun. Its music is fun. But it turns out story fucking matters. Thus, we write stuff. I would love to see a remake of this. The idea of duality between, a horrific circumstance and the way the character approaches it The whole entire idea of Sucker Punch is that the person is put in this awful circumstance, and the way they kind of get through it is they make believe it's something else. To steal this, instead of stealing a knife from the kitchen, it's stealing an egg from a dragon, and they go on this awesome romp where it kind of, it mixes metaphorical fiction with their reality, and it's really fun. It allows you to have action scenes where they're not deserved. Seen it done in a couple of the movies. I'm a big fan of this aesthetic and kind of metaphorical storytelling choice. It allows you to add action to circumstances that don't have it, while still having a story where people can understand and put themselves in it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I would like to see the story not be a hot pile of dog shit, and get to see the characters really do their thing as opposed to just being a mess of...
Yeah.
I just want to like the scenes and not have to make excuses for the movie. That's really...
Yeah.
Because the scenes... go back and watch the fight scenes sometime on YouTube, that shit. Sucker Punch. They rock. If you don't think so, don't ever watch a movie with me. That's fine.
Get out. There's the door.
GT the FO. But, yeah, don't watch the rest of the movie. Speaking of not watching the rest of the movie until we get a hand to redo it, what remake do you want?
Artemis Fowl needs help. Like, look how they massacred my boy.
My boy!
Yeah. Oh. Oof. Just oof. Like, as you kind of mentioned earlier, sometimes you don't want necessarily a faithful retelling to a book. However,
when the book slaps,
maybe don't use 5% of it and say, fuck it, we'll ad-lib the rest. We'll try and piecemeal shit in from 4 other books and just kind of shoehorn him in there. Like, hey, this guy who, over the course of 3 books, we take from basically a fucking villain and we turn him into a good guy who understands and sees things, like, he actually understands the concept of empathy at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that. We're going to make him understand right out the gate. We're going to remove the thing that made it so different and kind of like, whoa, shocking in your face. He's not bad. He's misunderstood. Fuck you. He's a villain. Like, God, Jesus. It took the movie, the attempt at a movie, the absolute waste of time that they put out as a movie. A, has some of the flattest acting ever. I realized the person who played Artemis Fowl is a child. I also realized they suck. B, it literally has story components from things that don't happen. A, or that don't happen for 3 books. B, like they try to introduce Opal Kaboy. That's not a name you see until book 4. I'm not even joking. Like,
yeah. No.
What is she doing there? Also, she just kind of doesn't do anything, which is really weird. Like, the troll CGI is bizarre. Mulch Diggums looks fucking wonk. He doesn't look right, but he's the least egregious somehow.
That dwarf ain't right.
I mean, I don't know how I imagined it looking like with him unhinging his jaw, but it just looks kind of bizarre. It's very cartoony. It's like, that's forgivable. It's still just weird.
Judy Dench.
I don't know who blackmailed her.
Morning.
She decided to be in that fucking dumpster fire of a film.
Yeah.
What happened to you, man? Jesus.
What happened to the dame?
Yeah,
she's rocking the top of the morning to you.
Who's you a favor to? Like, who fucking called it in and is like, hey, you remember back in 95? Like, she's like, is it time? It's like, yeah, I'm cashing it in. Like, what the fuck?
You sure I can't just kill somebody instead?
Yeah, like...
Instead of killing this whole film?
Yeah, it just, like, Lord. It can't do worse. It just can't. Like, I can't imagine a world where this movie could somehow be done worse. This is bottom of the barrel. It's a catastrophe.
Yeah, you could remake this movie on a cell phone, only using shit to draw the story and doing it like stop motion. Still better.
I'm gonna say, you know what? You take the 10% review to 15. Like, it'd still be an improvement. Like, God, it's such a cool story, and that's part of what makes it so cool. Is that the first book, Artemis Fowl, is the villain. Yeah. Straight up. He abducts a vulnerable woman. He waits for them. Like, he
sets a trap.
Yeah, he sets a trap to find a powerless woman and has his giant fucking bodyguard abduct her. He's a villain.
Yeah.
Like, and he does it for money. He does it because he's planning to ransom her.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And also, at the end, puts everybody that trusts him life on the line.
Yeah, he gambles.
He gambles with everybody else's life.
Oh, and
because
he drugs them too.
Pretty sure it. Yeah. Yeah, no, the guy's a villain. And as the story goes on, as like the books go on, he becomes less. He's still quite villainous schemes.
He's very villainous for the first 3 books.
Yeah.
And then he becomes kind of more heroic and less self-serving. But first one, fuck no, he's evil. Yeah. Dude's a villain. Make him a villain.
Maybe it's one of those things that America can't get its brain around, and we need to go shoot it in Sweden.
So, yeah,
but it's so good and so alt take on your classic, and so it's kind of leading with The Empire Strikes Back instead of A New Hope. It's start where the bad guy wins, and that's where we focus, and have to make I don't know, it's wild, but it definitely deserves to be
that needs a mulligan.
Yeah. Redo.
Help.
I think it's the one time that we've advocated for a reboot.
Yeah, unabashedly, just it's such good source material. How did you do this so wrong?
Yeah.
It's a fifth grade reading level book. How did you misread it so badly? What happened? You fucking fail your reading comprehension test?
We need to get the writers of that and M. Night Shyamalan in a room together and just teach them basic reading.
Or just gas
Sokka.
One of the two.
I think we try my option first, and then they fail. we do day 1 as lesson, and day 2 is either make or break.
You just walk out and shake your head. We just slam a deadbolt.
I tried, bro. Just all right.
Just open the vents.
Come on, Miss Murder.
All right,
yes.
All right, let in the ape.
Yeah.
Just drop a silverback in there.
Oh God. It's killing me with its shit. And with that tasty tidbit, I think we're going to throw it to our ad break. See y'all
in a moment. Don't you enjoy thinking about how things could always be worse? Isn't it great to look at a hellish wasteland and think, well, thank God I'm not there? Don't you love watching some other sucker struggle against the odds to survive while you're just sitting happily on your couch? Well, let's talk about some post-apocalyptic movies. Be it a cataclysmic flood, debilitating absence of water, or a genetically engineered plague run amok, these movies are packed to the brim with no shortage of human-made consequences our heroes will need to overcome just to make the slightest bit of forward progress. Beset with dangers and fraught with desperation, you can watch survivors in a hellish-drenched nightmarescape kill people senselessly as their humanity erodes away before you. But don't worry, it's just a movie. You don't have to think about the philosophical and moral dilemmas too hard that they face. It's just fiction. So go on, enjoy the end of the world at someone else's expense. Warning, thinking too hard about these movies may enlighten you to the grim fact that humans may be hurtling towards one of these outcomes ourselves due to corporate greed and a lack of empathy. Dwelling on this for prolonged periods may lead to malaise and an increase in political posting on Facebook. And welcome back.
Hey!
Okay, too far into Toonland over there.
Hey.
Overcorrected. We'll just go with it. What have you got as a pitch for the week, Isaac?
My pitch this week is just, I really need title help. It's called Political Fixer. And guess what? It's about a political fixer. The idea of the story very much came from rereading one of our favorite mangas.
Swingers, no.
What?
Because political things you give swing.
No,
no, it's terrible. It's just funny. Anyway,
I got it. Fine. So the idea of this came from rereading one of our favorite collective mangas, Berserk, and there's a time frame where Guts, the main protagonist, is basically doing the dirty work of his buddy who's trying to ascend to power and can't do it himself because he needs to stay clean and, can't be ever implicated. This idea would be kind of set in a little bit more contemporary times and having basically puritanical looking good guy needing bad things done, hiring somebody, maybe having a friend who's willing to do them, who is a good guy but willing to do it. It's kind of this duality of character, right? You have a guy that needs bad things done but can't do them, so he can be the good guy that everybody needs so that he can progress society. Where you have his guy that is a good guy, not wanting to do the things but believing in his vision and doing them. Probably ultimately leading in him killing him because he's not a good guy, but I haven't figured out the ending yet. But the idea of this kind of duality of character doing it, another kind of thing that inspired this is the film Serenity has one of my favorite bad guys in Ejiofor talking to Nathan Fillion at one point. And Nathan Fillion goes like, "Yeah, I don't kill kids." And Ejiofor's character goes, "I do." And just has no problem about it. He's like, "Yeah, that's what I do." He's like, "You're a monster." He goes, "I know that there's no place for me in this world I am attempting to create. Like, I want to make a place that is better for everybody. But I'm not in that group of people that it's going to be better for. I'm going to make this world and then I'm going to be cast from it. And I am okay with that, basically." And just that idea of just like, holy shit. And just being like, yeah, I'm the bad guy. And that's fine because somebody needs to be him to create this utopia that we need.
So somebody has to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with, except he doesn't own it, right, in the original. But in Watchmen, what's his face does the bad thing. Ozymandias, yeah, famous name. Ozymandias does this horrible thing to unite the world, but he does it against like an alien force, so he's not implicit, like he's not like implicated in the circumstance. But that idea of doing bad for good, at least in a novel form, I don't know about in reality, but in a novel form is really kind of cool.
Yeah, the idea of ends justify the means.
Ends justify the means, and not that it's like for you. I think like the altruism in it kind of sells it for me. Like when you're doing it for yourself, you start becoming just like truly villainous. There is no like good left in you. But when you're doing it for the betterment of society at some slight cost, it's like, yeah, like 100 million minus 3 is still a lot. And it would be better than like the normal kind of, like, we did the math and this is like a better thing. Is it clean? You know, it looks bad. It feels bad. It's not, in quotes, moral, but like in the end, this works out for the best.
Yep.
Speaking of in the end, it works out for the best. What are you hoping works out for the best in the end of you writing it? That was clunky as fuck.
Help.
Help. I need to write a good
The running title I'm thinking of is "You Never Left."
But she did. Sorry.
I've been dwelling a lot on like horror stories and stuff lately. And the idea of inviting someone into your house, like the theoretical pitch is someone like comes in to a kind of country home. They're trying to walk home in the rain. You know, nice country estate, whatever the fuck. And the host, you know, welcomes them in. The person's kind of off. Like they're just, you know, how you can look at someone that's not right. Like there's just something wrong. You can't quite.
That boy ain't right.
It's intangible. And you know, does the good host thing, offers them dinner, offers them like a drink to wait the storm out, and it's like, you know, it's gonna go all night. Like, okay, you can sleep here. You know, no one needs to fucking walk home in this garbage just to walk so far. A little injured. Okay, you can sleep here. It's fine. Get you a ride in the morning. And they hear a noise, and they go to check, and the room is empty. Interesting, weird. And so over the next day, they look back for them and can't find them, and just assume that the visitor got up and left in the night.
Yep.
And then things just start happening around the house because the person is still there.
Do you realize, one, very cool, very scary. I'm pissing myself already. Two, do you know the realistic resonance you've got going on there?
No idea.
So there are the idea of, you know, somebody's still in the house kind of thing is a very real thing. I'll try to find the study and include it in the show notes if I can. I remember listening to a podcast and they were talking about the amount of people that live in houses where they are not presumed to be, like in the walls, in the rafters and shit like that, is a lot more than you want to believe. It's like horrifying. The idea of, I can't find this thing. There is a very non-zero chance that there was somebody in your ceiling who took it. Like, I thought I left the sandwich out. Did you eat it? No, I didn't eat it. Come on, we're the only two people here. You sure about that, Tim? That shit's real. Like, it's scary. Like, people just, like, don't leave their houses. They sell their house because they need to, and then they, kind of don't leave as much as they thought you might. Or would prefer they did.
Wow. I'm never sleeping again.
Yeah, I enjoy trying to fall asleep when you hear a little in the background. And you're all alone. Reasons to have pets, folks.
Seriously. Trust the dogs if they start barking.
Well, no, I was just more being like, oh, it was the cat. You like, it's a little easier to placate yourself and be
palatable.
Like, yeah, oh yeah, it's just the cat fucking around. It's like, even though it's right on my lap, yeah, it's the cat.
Well, off of that horrifying and creepy note, you got something you would recommend for the people to watch? Hopefully something less creepy.
Yeah, a lot less creepy, a lot more fun. So we talked about it this weekend since we're talking about remakes and reboots. Both of our recommendations are going to be remakes and reboots. Mine is a remake of La Cage aux Folles, which was when was this made? It's based on Jean Poiret's 1973 play. The film was released in Italy in 1978. It is more commonly known and was made in the 90s as The Birdcage, starring Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, and I can't remember the name of the other guy. Fantastic comedy. Offsetting, like, the story follows a gay couple dealing, it's kind of like that Who's Coming to Dinner kind of thing, gay couple dealing with straight couple. They try to hide it. Lots of fun. Nathan Lane and Robin Williams just hamming it up hard as fuck.
Because those two guys are over the top as hell.
Oh, yeah. They basically were having a competition on set, and it's just bonkers dope. It is so much fun. Could not recommend it higher. Just have a great, awkward, laughy time. Enjoy.
Excellent.
What about you?
Because I'm going to recommend, since we kind of talked about old monster movie schlock, the newer Godzilla vs. King Kong. It's goofy. Love it. It's great.
There was a monster mash?
I was a monster mash. And what I like is that there's a fair amount of monster mashing. I'm a big fan of it. Like, it
was a bash.
It was a bash. Like a graveyard smash even. Yeah, it's the right amount of, like, it doesn't give the humans too much airtime. Thank God. Like, it's
yeah.
It doesn't shy away from monsters beating the shit out of each other. It's great. It's what you want it to be. It's got weird undernotes of conspiracy theory, which I'm like, I don't know about that one, but I don't know about that one, Chief.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta watch Big Lizard Fight Big Monkey Crush City. Excellent. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. That's what I'm here for. Like, stop pretending I'm here for any other reason. Again, look at the giant lizard.
Whee!
Yeah. And yeah, you get a number of, like, fights too, as they kind of do their own little weird side mission things. And you just gotta watch them beat the shit out of stuff. Fantastic. Provided you want to see a big monster movie, it's a good time. It's dumb. It's a good time.
And if you don't, here's the door.
Exactly. And that is going to be our episode. So thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed it, please feel free to
like,
comment,
share,
subscribe.
And don't forget, new episodes of this fucking weird podcast called Super Pros Bros comes out the first and third Saturday of every month.
Bye.
What the fuck? got sideways so fast.